Most of us are taught to treat dreams as one of two things. Either they're random noise, leftover sparks from the brain, or they're personal symbols, private images that only make sense to you. But for much of human history, dreams were not treated as disposable. Ignoring them wasn't neutral. It meant you might be missing something more important. Across cultures, dreams have been seen as messages, warnings, encounters, healing experiences, or glimpses into a deeper order of reality. Not every culture explained them the same way, but many shared one belief: dreams were worth paying attention to. In the last two videos, we looked at dreams through a psychological lens. First, as something personal, a symbolic language shaped by your own life, and then through Jung's idea of compensation, the idea that dreams don't just reflect your life, they can sometimes balance it. But long before modern psychology, people were already trying to understand dreams, often not just as something happening inside the mind, but as something understood within broader religious, philosophical, or psychological frameworks. So, if dreaming is something every human being does, why do different cultures interpret dreams so differently? And underneath that, what are dreams actually for? In many traditions, dreams weren't seen as random at all. They were often treated as a form of communication, though not always from the same source. Sometimes as guidance, like insight appearing before you fully understand a situation. Sometimes as warning, pointing towards something before it unfolds. Sometimes as contact, with ancestors, spirits, or forces beyond the individual self. And sometimes as healing, where something unresolved could be experienced, revealed, or worked through. The explanations vary depending on the culture, but the pattern is consistent. Dreams were often treated as meaningful experiences. And even when traditions focused on symbols, they didn't always treat them as fixed definitions the way we often do today. They functioned more like flexible metaphors. Water, for example, appeared across many dream traditions. It's often associated with emotion, the unconscious, cleansing, danger, or instability, but its meaning depends on context. A calm lake and a flood do not carry the same feeling. A river you can cross is different from an ocean that swallows the horizon. Snakes can shift meaning too. In one system, a snake might suggest danger. In another, transformation. And yet again in another, protection, healing, or hidden knowledge. Even teeth falling out, which people today often link to anxiety, has also been connected to loss, transition, mortality, or fear of change. So what's consistent isn't one exact meaning. It's the attempt to build meaning at all. Not one universal system, but many different ways of interpreting experience. Some traditions developed more structured approaches. In ancient Egypt, dreams could be understood as divine or highly significant, and were sometimes interpreted through established symbolic frameworks. In ancient Greece, Artemidorus documented dream interpretation, but emphasized that meaning depended on the dreamer's life and context. A symbol did not simply mean one thing for everyone. Who dreamed it mattered: their work, their status, their circumstances. In parts of Chinese tradition, dreams have been interpreted through ideas like yin and yang, or the balance of natural forces, though these are only some of several philosophical lenses. Different systems, different assumptions, but a shared effort to understand what dreams might be doing. In some cases, dreams weren't just interpreted, they were intentionally sought out. In ancient Greece, people practiced dream incubation. Someone who was sick might travel to a healing temple, lie down in a sacred sleeping space, and wait for a dream. They weren't just hoping for an interesting image, they were hoping for contact, guidance, or healing. A dream might show a god touching the wounded part of the body, offering instructions, or revealing what needed to happen next. The belief wasn't just that dreams described problems, it was that dreams could participate in healing. almost like entering a different state to receive a different kind of answer. In Islamic thought, dreams are often approached with a sense of discernment. Some dreams are considered meaningful or true, some reflect daily life, and some are seen as insignificant or noise. So the focus isn't just on interpretation, it's also on recognition. Which dreams are worth carrying forward? Which dreams are meaningful? And which dreams should simply be left alone? This adds an important layer. Not every dream has to be decoded. Part of dream interpretation is knowing when interpretation is actually appropriate. In some indigenous traditions, dreams are not only personal experiences, they can also be relational, connected to community and environment, to ancestors, land, and responsibility. But these perspectives vary widely depending on the culture and region, so there is no single indigenous framework for dreams. What many of these traditions challenge, though, is the modern assumption that a dream belongs only to the individual. A dream might matter because of what it reveals about the dreamer, but it might also matter because of what it reveals about the dreamer's relationship to others, to place, to memory, to something larger than the private self. Some Hindu and Buddhist traditions approach dreams in a different way, not always as something to decode, but as something to observe. A dream can become a way of reflecting on consciousness, perception, illusion, and the nature of reality itself. Because when you are dreaming, you experience a world that feels real while you are inside of it, and then you wake up. That simple experience raises deeper questions. What is the mind doing? How does perception create reality? How much of waking life is also shaped by attachment, projection, and illusion? In that sense, dreams aren't just meaningful, they can also be instructive. Now compare that to how dreams are often treated today. A dream usually gets reduced to one of three things: a brain process, a searchable symbol, or a private feeling. You wake up from a flood dream, type water dream meaning into a search bar, and within seconds you're handed a definition: emotion, change, the unconscious, and sometimes that might be useful, but older traditions often ask something wider. Where did the dream happen? What was the dreamer's life like? Was the dream connected to the body, to the community, to the divine, to the future, to the balance of the world? In other words, dreams were not always treated as isolated mental events. They were often placed inside a larger system of meaning. It's not that we stopped dreaming, but we may have made the dream smaller. And this is where Jung becomes useful again, because Jung didn't see dreams as meaningless, he saw them as symbolic, as compensatory, as part of a deeper psychological process. For Jung, a dream was not just a random image, it was a message from the unconscious, but not always in a direct or obvious way. A dream might reveal what the conscious mind avoids. It might bring forward an emotion that has been ignored. It might challenge the story you tell about yourself. In that sense, Jung's work can be read as a bridge between modern psychology and older symbolic approaches. Not fully spiritual, but not dismissive either. A kind of bridge between frameworks. Across cultures, the question keeps returning: what are dreams for? And the answer depends on how each system understands the mind, the world, and reality itself. Some see dreams as internal, some as relational, some as spiritual, some as psychological, some as biological, but many treat them as something worth paying attention to. And maybe that's the deeper pattern. Not that every culture agrees on what dreams mean, but that dreams keep asking to be interpreted. And when you look at all of this, it becomes clear there isn't just one way to understand dreams. In fact, there never was. So the question shifts from what do dreams mean to something more personal. How do you learn to notice your own patterns? Because meaning doesn't usually appear all at once. It builds through repetition, emotion, context, and attention. A single dream might feel confusing, but when you start writing your dreams down, you begin to notice what returns: the same places, the same people, the same fears, the same thresholds, the same images appearing in different forms. That is where your personal dream language begins to take shape. Maybe dreams are universal, not because they mean the same thing everywhere, but because people across time have tried to make sense of them. And maybe that is still the question now. Not just what your dreams mean, but how you choose to relate to them. Do you dismiss them? Do you reduce them too quickly? Or do you pay attention long enough to notice what they keep trying to show you? If you want to start paying attention to your dreams, write them down. Notice what repeats. Notice what stands out. Notice what feels charged, strange, or out of place. Over time, that's how your own dream language starts to take shape. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want a place to track your dreams, Nightly Echoes is built around just that idea. Not to tell you what your dreams mean necessarily, but to help you recognize the patterns yourself.